Jehovah's Witnesses is a Christian-based movement founded in the United States in the 1870s. Witnesses take most of the Bible literally and are known for their door-to-door preaching, refusal to perform military service, salute national flags, or accept blood transfusions. They have frequently faced prosecution by governments, including the former Soviet Union. If the ruling passes, the group will be outlawed, all its property seized, and its 175,000 active believers in Russia could be criminally prosecuted. Not only that, Jehovah's Witnesses would have the same legal status as Daesh. In 2006, Russia changed its legal definition of extremism from inciting violence or hatred to the incitement of religious discord. Authorities say Witnesses' pamphlets incite hatred, and the group undermines respect for other religions. Russia is predominantly made up of Russian Orthodox Christians. Rights groups say this case is part of an official repressive campaign against Jehovah's Witnesses and is part of a wider threat to religious freedom in Russia. Yvette McCullough, The Newsmakers.
Well, joining me now in the studio is Ercüment Kadim. He's a spokesperson for the Jehovah's Witnesses. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Thank you.
So those who want you banned in Russia consider you a mind control cult. They say you prevent members from furthering their education, from starting a family, from being free. How do you respond to that?
Well, this has been an accusation already made by the Russian authorities, and because of that, in year 2004, the community of Jehovah's Witnesses in Moscow was banned. And after exhausting the legal remedies in Russia, Jehovah's Witnesses in Russia took the issue to the European Court of Human Rights. And in 2010, European Court of Human Rights made a judgment that such an allegation has no legitimate reason. And things like making personal decisions regarding education and about health reasons is all part of freedom of religion and freedom of expressions of their beliefs. So even the European Court of Human Rights found that these allegations had no legitimate reason, and therefore they judged and they verdicted that the Russian government has to pay compensation to the Jehovah's Witnesses in Russia.
You don't want political power. I mean, you don't get involved in politics. So
No.
why are they coming after you?
That's a good question. As already described in the clip that you already displayed, the wording has changed regarding extremism. And there is a law in Russia, it's called counteracting extremist activity. And now it's nothing to do with the violent act, but if it is sensed that there is a kind of intolerance to any other religion, then it can be considered as extremist. And it goes back to 2008 in Rostov, in Russia. The prosecutor office asked for a study, and they said, please search literatures of Jehovah's Witnesses. And they found out that, in fact, Jehovah's Witnesses never have a hostile thinking towards or against anyone. But they found out that the study, it revealed that there is a potential that it can undermine the respect towards the other religions. And the court in Rostov focused on this finding, and then they said, well, it fits into this amended definition of extremism, and therefore they declared 34 publications or literatures of Jehovah's Witnesses as extremist.
Do you respect other religions?
Of course we do.
Right.
Of course we do.
This is interesting because in Russia at the moment there seems to be a bit of a revival of religion, of the Orthodox Church, and that seems to be coming closer together with the state. So society seems to be getting more religious or more proud of its religion, but you just don't fit that narrative. Tell me why.
It's a good question. And I think it's not only the Jehovah's Witnesses do not fit into that. All the religious minorities have the same problem. It's not our personal observance. In fact, the international media outlets say that, of course, right now there's a pressure on the local community of Jehovah's Witnesses, but it's a threat for all the other religious minorities. But that connection that you referred is made by the, again, international media outlets between the Orthodox Church and the government.
The president, the patriarch, the church and the state, right?
Yeah.
We're seeing this sort of get stronger.
Well, that's something observed by the international media outlets, like you pointed out. And therefore, this pressure is now being put on Jehovah's Witnesses and on other religious minorities.
Let me maybe then pose another theory.
Please.
Is this maybe because you're perceived as Western and not from the soil of Russia? You're an American influence, an American injection into their society.
Sometimes we face this idea, but as a matter of fact, Jehovah's Witnesses are around the world in 240 lands and countries. So Jehovah's Witnesses is not associated with any special country. In fact, the holy book that Jehovah's Witnesses believe in, is Bible, was written in Middle East, has nothing to do with the Western world. So there is such a misperception, but it has no real basis.
Yeah, and I'm looking at what might happen as they talk of breaches of the law on counteracting extremist activities. Now, the ministry has asked to recognize the organization and its 395 local branches in Russia as extremists, ban your activity, seize your property.
True.
So, I mean, this is a mega threat.
It is.
What are you planning to do in response to that?
It's true. As usual, Jehovah's Witnesses always try to apply the legal remedies. So they always go to the courts in Russia because Jehovah's Witnesses are well known for law-abiding or obeying the laws. So they try to reason to the Russian laws. In fact, the Constitution of Russia respects freedom of religion and freedom of expression and freedom of association. Therefore, just Jehovah's Witnesses right now try to argue with the authorities that, well, Jehovah's Witnesses are just obeying the laws and they are enjoying the freedom, in fact, granted by the Russian Constitution. So that's the reasoning now. So they are not doing something which is not part of the Constitution. They are enjoying the freedom which other religious minorities or mainstream religions enjoy already.
Ercüment Kadim, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.